It's a wonderful industry, So, like we said, it's very diverse. It takes you many different places. You get to meet some really interesting people. I think we're very lucky. We see people in all facets of their lives.
Hello, my name is Renae Leith-Manos. Welcome to this podcast, Where to From Here, featuring conversations about luxury travel and how it's changing in every pocket of the globe. Today we're going to Tokyo, one of my favorite Asian cities, and it's absolutely buzzing. And we're talking to the general manager, Fredrik Harfors of the Park Hyatt Tokyo. Now, I have to just mention that this hotel is in one of the most famous movies that stars Scarlett Johansson, and I'm sure he's going to tell us all about it. Welcome, Fredrik. It's so great to see you again.
Hi, Renae. Nice to see you. I'm glad we finally made it to this interview.
No, absolutely, because of course we met in Jakarta when we were both living there, and now you're in Tokyo and I'm in Sydney.
That's right. I mean, it's all about travel, right? So, the fact that we've moved around a bit since we last met, I think is quite apt.
Yes, totally agree. And tell me, what's happening in Tokyo? What's happening in Japan? Is it busy? Are there a lot of tourists going in?
There is, let me tell you, I recently went to 2 trade shows, one in Singapore and then one in Las Vegas, so June and August respectively. And Japan, and definitely Tokyo also, is top of the list of most countries, from the US to South America, right around Asia, Southeast Asia, Australia, as you probably know. Everyone wants to come to Japan, which is fantastic.
Yes, well, it offers so much. Australians love skiing there.
Yeah, skiing. I mean, skiing is one thing, which is coming up later this year. Now in the summertime actually is considered probably not the best time to go, but it hasn't stopped anyone. So, like you said, everyone's interested in Japan. It has a lot to offer. It has very ancient culture. It has the new with pop culture and food and especially the products. I mean, the quality of the produce here in Japan is second to none, and we're very lucky and we're spoiled in a way to have access to this. So the country has a lot to offer, and we're seeing increased travel. I think the last report I saw was that now it's at about 70% plus of 2019 levels, and it's going up every month.
Isn't that fantastic? And is this the first time you've lived in Japan? Because I know you started your career in Chicago and you've worked all over the place, including quite some time in Southeast Asia.
Yes, so I started in Chicago as 22 years ago now with Hyatt. So with Hyatt ever since, in Chicago as a management trainee, and then through Asia, mostly Southeast Asia, and then before going to Japan. So I've never worked in Japan, never lived in Japan. I've been here as a visitor, and like most people who visited, I was really impressed by the country. And I have to say, living here, it lives up to the hype. It is it's a wonderful place to live. I'm here with my family as well, so they love it also. Very livable, and there's a reason why Tokyo gets ranked as one of the best cities to live in the world year after year.
Is it affordable? Because I mean, you've left Jakarta, which we both lived in, and is one of the cheapest cities in the world, certainly when it comes to food and value for money. How are you finding the cost of living in Tokyo?
It's certainly higher than Jakarta, but it depends on what you look at. If you look at food prices, they're quite comparable. Might even be a little bit cheaper here because, as you probably would have known, anything imported into Jakarta is expensive. But it is generally more expensive. But I would say you still have the value for money because you get very high quality, and you can also decide how you want to spend your money. You can do it very affordably.
Yes.
You can get fantastic ramen at a very humble shop, or you can go to a 3-star Michelin restaurant if you want to. So you have the choice, which is great.
Nice.
Because one of the things we say at Park Hyatt is that luxury is personal, right? So luxury could mean many different things to many different people, right? And on the day, you might just feel like that bowl of ramen, right? Or you want to splurge, right? So the world's your oyster here. Lots of choices.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And having just come from the brand new Park Hyatt in Jakarta into Tokyo, how do the Park Hyatts, compare, and the audience? Do you find that the same travelers visit all of the Park Hyatts, or are they just completely different, markets?
Well, the markets are very different. I'll start
Mm.
by saying that, as you know, Jakarta is very much a business focused market.
Mm.
A lot of conferences, and so the travelers are thereafter. However, we do see the same travelers, right? So I've already met some of the regular guests from Jakarta who then come here. But here in Tokyo, we definitely have more of a leisure segment. It's much higher, and a lot of people I speak with get surprised that we actually have a lot of leisure, but it is. And it could also be that it is the return of travel that
Yes.
spur this leisure travel. So we have a lot of families stay with us, a lot of multi-generational travel, couples. So it's really quite a wide spectrum of the leisure traveler. But that's how it would be different, I think. But we definitely see the same guests.
Yeah. And sitting in Tokyo, what do you think is the biggest challenge for luxury hotels in general now? I mean, the world's changed so
Mm.
much.
I think change is the operative word, right? The rate of change is so quick that
So
we really
fast.
we have to look at how we operate the hotels, and we also have to change, right? And it's not easy. So I think that's a challenge, the rate of
Mm.
change. Also, in Japan and in Tokyo, the labor constraints that we see in the rest of the world, they're not much different here. I read a report that estimated, I think, something like 20% of the hospitality workers left the industry during the pandemic here in Japan. I don't know how many have come back, but there have been a lot of hotels that have opened up. So I think the competition for skilled hotel hospitality associates is ramping up, right? It's not easy to recruit, to hire, and to retain. So I think
Yes.
that's a big focus for the industry, not just our hotel or the Hyatt group, but for our competitors as
It's
well. I think,
everywhere.
yeah.
I mean, everyone I'm speaking to is saying the same thing.
Mm.
And, I think part of it is that, we need to make the luxury hotel industry, sexy again, for want of a better word, in terms of the employees, and make them feel really special that they're working there, because a
Yeah.
lot of that got devalued because so many people lost their jobs and the industry basically just shut down through no fault, anyone's fault, but it's the reality that happened.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. We look at the guest journey quite a lot from arrival to departure, but we should do the same for the associate journey as well. What's it like? How do they hear about our hotels or the hotel? How do they, what's their first impression, right? What's their arrival like on their first day?
Yes.
So I think it becomes
Yes.
more about also their experience. It should be more about their experience, right?
100%. And what future do they have there? Where is it mapped out? That's a
Exactly.
really big one amongst the
Yes.
staff because I run a consulting business as well. So I speak to a lot of staff about these issues. And I just think because everyone's been so busy, we've gone from 0 to 100, that a lot of these things, no one's had time to actually sit down and ask the questions that we're asking now. And it's something, industry wide. And it definitely needs to be addressed for the industry to grow and flourish, because if hotels, whichever brand they are, don't have the right staff, they're not going to work properly.
Yes, I mean it's all interlinked, right?
Yes.
So I said the associate journey is just as important as the guest journey, right? And they impact each other. And you're absolutely right. The whole career progression, where people see themselves in X amount of years. We had there was a conversation where we talked about the importance of also sharing, our journey for us who are already working for hotels.
Yes.
How we started and how our careers progressed as a bit of inspiration to the new associates that are joining the industry.
Absolutely. I think that's just so important, because otherwise they don't know. If they don't know, they don't know. Yeah. And to know the great heights that you've reached and the different countries and locations that you've worked in, that's very inspirational, I think, for the new generation of people working in hotels.
Yes. And it could be anyone, right? It doesn't have to be the general manager of a hotel. It can
That's
be
right.
It can be one of the chefs de cuisine. It could be the housekeeping manager, right? It could be a director of sales, for example, right? Because there's so many, and we should talk more about the diverse career paths that you have as well. Because within a hotel, there's so many different things you can do, and I think you should try many different things, not just say, okay, I will only work here in this department, or I will only work here.
Absolutely. Yeah. And different careers offer different positive things and different lifestyle choices to, an employee. So unless they know about them, they're not aware that that these all exist, with different shifts, for example, different times, different bonuses, different, advantages of each one. It's it's something that we should talk about.
Very diverse.
But I want to talk to you about this amazing movie, Lost in Translation, which was filmed in your
Yes.
hotel. Can you tell us the story of how did that end up happening? It's become such a cult movie. I know
Sure.
it was like forever ago, like over 20 years ago. How did it end up being filmed at the Park Hyatt Tokyo?
I don't know exactly the story of how it came to be, but I recently watched an interview, I think, with Sofia Coppola, and she mentioned that the hotel has a very distinct personality, and that's one of the things that drew her to the hotel. So I can speak to that. You know, I think it's the design is very unique. You know, the way the hotel was brought to life by John Morford, who's the designer now 29 years ago since it opened. So this would have been more than 30 years ago that he, you know, conceptualized, you know, all the spaces in this amazing building to make it what it is today and what it has been for the last almost 30 years. So I think that was a big drop point. And I have to go and rewatch the movie. I watched it a few years ago, but I haven't found the time.
It's quite a moving movie. Like it's quite sort of emotional for a couple that never really get together and just have a flirtation. I guess it's sort of, it hits something within a chord within many people because of the loneliness they experience, but within this absolutely magnificent environment in your hotel and in Tokyo.
Yes, and from memory, I don't think there's certain times where there's not much dialogue or either.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's
there's
right.
Just moving through the spaces. So here, you know, in the hotel, it is really a masterpiece of design and lighting and architecture, and all those things I think come together to create a certain mood that is really unique. You know, it is really a one of a kind, right? And
was it the designer or the architect who's been named as sort of the leader in Japan?
That was the architect. So that was the late Dr. Kenzo Tange.
Yes.
Who designed the building. So the building also, and obviously you see it more from the outside. It's a very striking building with the three towers. And it's a bit of a landmark here in Shinjuku, the area of Tokyo that we're in. But inside the building, you see it more when you're in the atriums. So there's three atriums basically as you come up the hotel. The first one is where we have our lounge. The second one is the swimming pool. So level 41, level 47, and then level 52 with New York Grill and Bar, which is our.
I've been there. I've eaten at that restaurant.
Okay, great. And that's where some of the scenes of the movie were filmed as well, where Bill Murray is having a drink. So it's the combination of architecture and interior design, a very, very distinct architecture as well, right? It's very different to, in the area, there's a few other buildings that Dr. Kenzo Tange designed that are similar.
Handy. So that have some synergy.
Yeah, we actually have a very small architecture tour that looks at his building in the area. You can walk around and the hotel and you can take in some of his work.
Gorgeous. And what are you finding that guests are looking for now that perhaps they weren't looking for a few years ago?
I think on the rise, it's definitely exploring cuisine in Tokyo. You know, our concierge are so busy with making reservations, and it's, you know, there's a big focus on the Michelin star restaurants, but there's also, you know, very specialized restaurants where you go for the best sushi or the best teppanyaki or the best robatayaki, and so that is taking up a lot of the time, and that's where the demand is from the travelers. So, you know, experiences, I would say. So not just food, but you know, people want to have learn more about Japanese culture, and actually there's a lot of people who are making their first trip to Japan. Even, you know, when I went to these trade shows and I'm speaking to luxury travel agents, many of them have not been themselves, and not only do they want to go because they want to experience Japan and Tokyo, and let's not forget about the secondary cities, right? Like Osaka or Kyoto. They also get a lot of attention, or skiing up in Niseko, for example.
And can I just interrupt you there? One of the things that really amazed me when I was in Japan is going to Osaka and Kyoto, the trains. They're the most reliable, clean trains in the world, I think. Like, they run absolutely on time. And the safety and security on public transport is just phenomenal. Basically, if you leave your credit card on the seat, it'll be returned to you. And
I think safety is something that's paramount here, anywhere really. Right? Everything's designed with safety in mind. And the Japanese trains, I can't speak to them yet because I haven't, besides the public transportation in the city, I haven't been on my first Shinkansen experience yet. But it's coming up. It's coming up on 22nd of September. So
fantastic.
Looking forward to it.
Because an insider travel tip that I know, at least for Australians, is it's far more economical to purchase those train tickets before you arrive in Japan. So that, yeah,
Yes.
it's a good tip to get organized, and actually, which you wouldn't think, because that's not the case in most places in the world, but Japan is one of them where if you order it online before, it's a lot more affordable.
That's right. And getting that, I think it's the JR travel pass. Getting that as a tourist is definitely the best way to go about. Yeah. Then
Yeah,
buying
100%.
single tickets. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And to Hiroshima and wherever you want to go, it goes everywhere.
You're right.
Yeah. And tell me, just going back to food and beverage, I mean, are you seeing a lot of demands for different sort of nutrition, as in vegan, as in lower calorie? What are you seeing, there in Japan that people are wanting?
Yeah. Healthy eating has always been on the cards. I don't think it's gone away, in terms of, what we input, so to speak, right? But sustainability has become more popular. I think we get more questions about, where is our food sourced? Where does it come from? And we're very fortunate here to be accredited for our seafood. So we have 2 accreditations for, I think, the Marine Stewardship Council. So one is for fish that's caught in the wild, and the other one is for foreign, basically. We've given that priority, and throughout Hyatt as well. And the next thing we're looking at is cage-free eggs, which has been a little bit more of a challenge, taking longer than we wanted it to. But I think we've identified a farm. So our executive chef went the other day to have a look at the farm.
Yeah.
And, to make sure that, the supplier is living up to the promise.
Yes.
So that's the next thing that we'll be doing as well. And there's more efforts as well in sustainability coming. So I would say that is top of mind. Healthy eating has been around for a while, but the focus on sustainability and animal welfare, I think is becoming more prominent.
Yeah, because that's actually quite an issue in Southeast Asia, isn't it? I mean, there's not sort of the same value system, can I say, around animals. But where does Japan sit in the world in terms of sustainability? Do you know?
I don't have any figures, but I think, just like what I said in the beginning about, we can get this great produce here, right? And I think just the quality, I think it's very difficult to get things of quality unless you're growing them and looking after them the right way. So just like most developed economies, I believe that Japan is on the forefront of this as well. And just the quality that you get, you can tell, this is not hormones or or produce that's grown in a how should we say, quick and careless manner, right? There's a lot of care that goes in. Just like other developed economies, there are more and more products becoming available all the time, right? So I think it's about, for us to keep the dialogue with the producers, keep it open, be curious, go get out of the city and actually go to the farms and the whatever it may be. The other day, our executive chef went on, also had a look at a goat farm where they make their own goat cheese, for example, that we're looking to use also. And it's just outside of Tokyo. So you have all these great products available, but you have to go out and find it also sometimes.
Yeah, source them. Yeah. And check, as you said, and make sure they're
That's
allergic.
right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So Fredrik, how did luxury hotels become your passion? Because they certainly are, and you've been with Hyatt the whole way along.
Well, similar to many of my peers that I speak with, it started from traveling at a young age. My parents were very adventurous and took us on trips. That's how we like to spend our free time. So I was lucky enough to stay in some great hotels, and it was just inspiring to see, the architecture, the design, the food and beverage, then the service aspect. So that got me really excited at a young age. And then I decided, to pursue it as a profession. I started, I think when I was 17 or 18, I started waiting tables. And once you get hooked, it's very difficult to stop, right? So, so I decided to further my studies in the industry. And then straight out of university, I joined Hyatt, and the rest is history. It's a wonderful industry. It's, so like we said, it's very diverse. It takes you many different places. You get to meet some really interesting people. And I think we're very lucky because we see people in all facets of their lives, right? From their first birthday party or, to, and then celebrations throughout, right? So wonderful industry.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful. And sitting there in Tokyo as a GM, is there somewhere that you still want to go and you would love to work, or how do you feel about the future?
I'm still taking in Tokyo, to be honest. I keep telling everyone, and I think people get tired of hearing it now, but I say the list is long of things to do, and it just keeps getting longer because you cannot tick things off before there's something amazing that's come up that you want to do, right?
Yes.
So So I'm not really looking at the next destination, so to speak. But in terms of travel, like where I'm going next, so I mentioned, 22nd of September, I'm taking the family and we're going to Kyoto, and we're going to stay at the amazing Park Hyatt in Kyoto, our sister hotel.
I didn't know there was a Park Hyatt there.
There is. So in there, and also in Niseko for the skiers out there, we also have. But I think the property. So we've never been to Kyoto, never seen the hotel, but the property is a small mansion, if you will, set in the middle of historical Kyoto.
Wow.
So we're really looking forward to taking that in, and also the surround.
Kyoto's a great town. I went there with a girlfriend, and it's very unique, as you say. It's very historical, and there's a lot of little laneways that you can sort of explore and discover, little bars and little restaurants, and it wasn't what I expected. And I think that's true of all of Japan. Wherever I've been, you sort of rock up and like, oh, this is what it is. It's fantastic, but it's just so unexpected at every turn.
You're absolutely right. And someone once told me, when I spoke about coming here, they said that who lived here, and they said when they lived here, they could just walk down the street, and like around each turn there was something amazing, right?
Yes.
And maybe not each turn, but there is always something interesting. There's always something going on.
Totally.
It's usually of a very high quality, and
it's done uniquely. Like whether it's a coffee or headphones, electronic equipment, or fashion, or everything is done uniquely and with patience and with attention to detail. And that's one of the great joys of Japan.
Absolutely
Awesome.
Right, Renae.
It was wonderful to speak to you. You have so much interesting information about Tokyo and about the luxury hotel industry. It's fantastic. And where to from here for you? Do you have a big day ahead, or?
Fridays are actually usually quite relaxed, but we work in hotels, so you never know. We've got a typhoon heading our way. It's very weak. It's very weak, but it is coming towards Tokyo, so we're going to see some big winds and rain, but I don't think enough to really declare an emergency. But I'm looking out the window now, and what normally is a great view is now kind of a blanket of gray, if you will. So
you've gone from earthquakes in Indonesia, which was a constant threat, to typhoons in Japan.
That's right. And earthquakes here also, I think, even more than Indonesia. But it, like we said before, safety is always paramount, right? So we feel very safe nonetheless.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I'm sure everything will be sorted. They'll know how to deal with anything in Japan.
Correct.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Fredrik. I hope to get there and to see you in your new beautiful hotel.
Please, you're welcome anytime.
Thank you very, very much, and have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend, and happy birthday.
Oh, thank you as well. Happy belated birthday to you.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye now. Bye.
Bye.
Don't forget to subscribe here and follow us on Instagram and Facebook for regular travel updates. You can also hear our episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.